Well, this next lady got her professional start playing the lead female role in the Los Angeles cast of the smash rock musical Hair, remember? Then she spent a couple of seasons as a regular on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And this is her first appearance on American Top 40. Debuting at number 39, here is Jennifer Warnes with Right Time of Night.
Some good time of the night.
Jennifer Warnes on American Top 40, debuting at 39 with her first hit ever. It's titled Right Time of Night.
American Top 40.
Well, now I have the hit by the lady who learned to cope by getting away. Her problem was too much success too soon. Her name, Jennifer Warnes. And back in the late 60s, she starred in the West Coast production of Hair, became pretty well known to TV audiences, first with the Smothers Brothers and then later with the Glenn Campbell Show. Then she starred in a TV pilot with John Hartford, one that was written by Chris Christopherson. Well, Jennifer was getting a lot of show business action, but it was all happening faster than she could handle. She told us it was closing in on her. She felt smothered. And that was nature's way of telling her to get out fast. So she split up to her cabin in the woods on the California coast between L.A. and San Francisco. Now, the cabin had a piano in it, but no gas, no electricity, and no running water. It was 30 miles to the nearest town. And except when she drove in for supplies, the only other human contact she had for a whole year was an infrequent hi to a neighbor who wanted as much solitude as Jennifer did. She pumped water from a well, grew her own vegetables, and burned logs in the fireplace to cook and keep warm. Most of the time, Jennifer played the piano and did a lot of thinking. 12 months later, she felt in control of her life again. She knew who she was and where she was going. So she closed up the cabin and came back to Hollywood. This week, her first Top 40 hit takes another jump up the chart to number 10. Here's Jennifer Warnes and Right Time of the Night.
Sun goes down, it's the rise.
Jennifer Warnes with the first of the 10 hottest records in the USA. That's Right Time of the Night.
American Top 40.
In Hollywood, I'm Casey Kasem. Here's Jennifer Warnes, who auditioned for television's Mouseketeers when she was 8 years old and didn't make it. But she bounced back. Up to number 20, here she is with I Know a Heartache When I See One. Jennifer Warnes on American Top 40 at number 20, moving up a couple of notches with I Know a Heartache When I See One.
Number 19.
Born and raised just down the road from Disneyland, here's Jennifer Warnes up a notch to number 19 with I Know a Heartache When I See One. I Know a Heartache When I See One. Jennifer Warnes on American Top 40.
American Top 40. American Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Well, now it's time for the story of The Princess and the Troll, the unlikely vocal duo of The Princess and the Troll. That's how recording executives describe Jennifer Warnes and Joe Cocker. And how did they get together? Well, last year, Jennifer was watching Joe on TV on the Grammy Awards. She was very moved by his performance. Some months later, backstage at a Bonnie Raitt concert, Jennifer saw Joe, ran up to him and said, I'd love to sing with you sometime. Joe said, do you sing falsetto? Jennifer said yes. Then he said, could you look into my eyes and sing live instead of singing to a music track? You know, sing. Jennifer nodded. And that was it. Then, a few weeks later, Jennifer was at the offices of Paramount Pictures. She'd recorded songs for hit movies like Ragtime and Norma Ray, which won an Oscar for Best Song. The Paramount executives wanted to know what she wanted to sing for him. She said she'd already been hearing good things about the film An Officer and a Gentleman, so she wanted to sing on that movie. The Paramount people said, well, we're thinking of using Joe Cocker on the theme. And Jennifer said, why not use both of us? And the movie executives agreed. She told us, quote, everyone who heard about the idea said that's the weirdest combination I've ever heard of. It's like the princess and the troll under the bridge. It doesn't make sense. End of quote. But the unlikely combination of Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes made enough sense to create a number one record. For the third week in a row, the number one song in the land is Up Where We Belong by Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes. For the third consecutive week, the number one song in the USA, Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warren singing Up Where We Belong. Now we're up to the woman who, as a child, made her public debut singing the national anthem dressed as an American flag and accompanied by 300 musicians all playing the same instrument. It was a sight that 40-year-old singer Jennifer Warren told us that she's never going to forget as long as she lives, even though she was only 5 years old at the time. Here's the story. Jennifer grew up in Anaheim, California. That's where Disneyland is. One year, a local manufacturer of musical instruments decided to celebrate the 4th of July with a big promotional show in the city's Civic Auditorium. To open the show, the sponsor wanted a young girl to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. Jennifer's parents let her audition for the part, and she got it. So, come the 4th of July, there was 5-year-old Jennifer Warren dressed in a costume that made her look like an American flag with legs. She's standing on the stage of her local auditorium, singing her heart out. And right behind her, lined up in rows, are 300 musicians all pumping away the Star-Spangled Banner on 300 accordions. What else would an accordion manufacturer supply? Jennifer told us she didn't know there were that many accordions in the world. But there's not a single one in her current hit. It's a duet she sings with Bill Medley. Up 10 notches to number 25. Here's I've Had the Time of My Life.
Now I
From the soundtrack to the hit summer movie Dirty Dancing, that's Bill Medley and Jennifer Warren's I've Had the Time of My Life. It's their first chart single together, and after debuting last week, it moves up a big 10 notches to number 25 as the countdown rocks on.
Casey's Coast to Coast.